Come on. I didn't even see him back there. Please, everybody stand and join with me in singing our pastor, the founder of High on Hope Ministries and Reach United, our spiritual father, one of my best friends in the whole world. We love you, Tim. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Pastor Tim. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you guys so much. What was kind of comical was Luke came downstairs and was like, Austin needs you upstairs for something. I'm not sure what it is. And then Ashley was immediately like, to sing him happy birthday. And then Luke was like, no, it's not that. Something else. Luke is not a good liar. He's not. Which is good. I'm glad. Thank you guys. I really just want to say I'm so blessed, man. This has been the best year of my life. There's been many challenges, but there's been a lot of lessons and a lot of growth. And man, I'm super excited for what God has ahead of us as a church and just in the community as a whole. We have some really amazing things that God is doing. We are expanding Angels Harbor into Belpre. Yeah. Have 32 more beds there. And so, man, it's good. And then there's a place right after that. So I just want to say, without you guys, I can't even imagine what my life would be. I really mean that. Like, I can't even imagine where my life would be, what I would be doing with my life, or what, just what it would, I can't even picture it. I can't even picture living life outside of the life that we live as a community. So I'm grateful, man. This summer is going to be a great time. And I just want to encourage you guys to, press in. Let's prepare because I think there's a very big season, we're stepping into. So who's ready for it? Let me see. So the girls are ready for it. Anybody else ready for it? Yeah, it'll be fun. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. And I leave in 2 days, and I'll see y'all in about a month or so. No, we go to the beach, and then Pastor Dennis is going to preach Sunday. It's going to be amazing. And then your favorite High on Hope director will also be here. So who's going to be here Sunday? Let me see. Awesome. It'll be fun. Love you guys. Thank you.
We love you, Timmy. Something about Pastor Tim, and I'll just tell a little story about how I came to be in the ministry, just real quick. I believe that God answers prayers, and I believe that God I honestly believe in my whole heart that God put me and Tim together a few years ago. And I had watched Tim, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, we met for the first time, and then, I kind of watched him on social media and stuff, and I knew his wife, Abby, and we were friends, and, I know a lot of people, and I just loved Tim's message, and I remember praying, man, I would love to be closer to Tim Kraft. And I wanted to be a part of what he was doing. I remember praying and asking God to make that happen. And be careful what you pray for. That's all I'm saying. But one day I was at my old employer, and there goes Tim Kraft walking across he was going into the very first Reach building we had over on South Side, which was maybe about as big as this area of the church right here. I mean, it was literally very small, and he was moving a bookcase in, and I was like, is that Tim Kraft? And my boss was like, yeah, he's renting a place out back. So I walked out there, and Tim asked me to help him move a bookcase. Next thing you know, he's like, yeah, we need a guitar player. You want to come and play guitar? I was like, sure, yeah. Next thing, the rest is history. It's almost 3 years later now, and it has been the greatest joy of my life doing this High on Hope stuff and working with Tim and building this church and doing this ministry. And watching you girls get sober and watching you girls find freedom and watching this huge family grow up. I mean, we were pretty big then. I mean, we had 100 seats maybe, and we were packing this little building. It was hot in there. It was like a Jesus oven. I mean, there's steam rolling out the doors. Steam rolling off Alex Victory's keyboard from a worship. But God does answer your prayers, man. I'm telling you. And I'm just grateful for that. And I'm grateful for Pastor Tim and his vision. And we're just getting warmed up. So, we had a meeting last night, and we were talking about serving and how important service is. And I just would like to encourage all of you ladies, all of you people here tonight, if you're not serving in some kind of form or another, maybe ask God or, pray about what he would have you serve and have you do. Because I know as recovering addicts, and for my recovering addict, they tell you that we have to search for God's will and get out of our self-will to break free of addiction, right? Well, God's will for your life will always be to be of service to somebody else. So if you don't know what to do with yourself, if you're sitting around bored, if you're sitting like, I don't know what to do, man, what's next? Get up and serve. Go serve somebody. You don't have to have experience. You don't have to, you'll grow into whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is show up. Is just show up here at the Reach, and you will gain not only a family, but you'll gain freedom. You will gain all these things. You'll gain confidence. You will gain a family. You'll gain connections. You never know what's going to happen by just showing up and coming to church and serving. So I would like to invite everybody here. If you're not serving in some form or another, man, be praying about it, be thinking about it, because we're really, really building something special here. And it's so cool to be a part of. And if you're longing for connection, if you're longing to be part of something, serving is by far the best way to get in there and get to know your pastor more, get to know, your leaders more, and get to just really get the full experience of what, building a church and building a ministry is all about. Amen? All right. Well, our speaker tonight, I've known our speaker for, I don't know how, probably about 5 years now. I met Joey, and he was at church, and he was doing really good, and he's been doing a lot of things, and he's had a heart for the Lord as long as I've known him. Just so happens that our paths crossed a while back, and I've been watching Joey grow and come back around and rebuild his life and do all this and that, and just it's amazing the friendship that we formed. In watching him grow, he's a brother to me. I'm so proud of him, and I'm just so happy to hear his testimony tonight. I don't want to talk too much about it because I know we're going to probably be here till midnight. He's a big talker. But, man, give it up. This is part 2 of a beautiful story we're about to hear. Get up for Joey Fields.
Those are my dudes. Step on my dudes. My dudes are better. We all know that. Well, hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Doing all right. So I didn't expect to be so nervous, but hey, here I am. I'm Joey Fields. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia. I lived on the east side and the west side there. I'm hoping that, me giving my testimony tonight, I hope it helps me and I hope it helps someone else because, we have to be transparent to heal all of our wounds and stuff. I've been working really hard on trying to fix my situations with, my family and everything else. So I'm just going to give you a little background. My mother and my father, they separated. My father was very abusive to my mom. And then, we lived on the east side of Charleston on Nancy Street. I don't know if you know where that's at, but it's right over near the Capitol. Used to take a walk to the Capitol every day with or without my parents and get my butt busted all the time. But, 7-Eleven was right there. So I just got to say I love Slurpees, by the way. That's why I was always there. But my childhood and then my teens were kind of rough, you know. And I try to look back. I always have this saying in my head that I go, someone always has it worse than me. You know what I mean? Like I always try to think about that. Like that's kind of what's got me through. My dad, he was, a drunk, drugging, doing everything you can think of. And then my mom was right there, right along with him. And then I remember I come home from my friends one day, and my dad's there, and he's beating on my mom. And I go in, I try to stop him, and I ended up turning around, walking downstairs, because I knew the cops were coming, man. The cops knew me by name, because either they was picking me up for walking down the street, because, people were calling in, there's some kid walking down the street, it's the east side of Charleston, you know what I mean? Like, what in the hell's going on? Sorry. But sorry. But, at that time, it was a really rough area at the time back then. It was like 90, 93, 96, somewhere between there. And, there was like a gang situation going on. Guys were shooting on the east side and the west side. And, my mom was always telling me, don't go anywhere further than the corner. And I would never listen. So I'm waiting for the police to get there, and here they come. And my dad hears the sirens. He comes out. He shoves me, and I fall down the steps. I bust my head wide open. There's blood all over the floor. And I remember the state trooper picks me up and carries me out to the car, and I watch him fight my dad. And my dad's trying to fight him off, and I remember them just macing him, and they get him finally in cuffs, and my mom comes down, and she's like, just take him. I don't want him no more. I can't handle this. I can't handle the abuse from his dad. I can't handle him. He don't listen. He don't do anything. So, I was in social services for a little bit. And then finally they got my mom cleaned, and I moved back in with my mom, and then my two sisters are there now. And I remember when I got there, they kind of were just, they picked on me all the time, you know what I mean? Like, she don't want you here, your dad's abusive, all it is trouble. So, like, I always had this, I never had a real connection with my parents until my mom, she decided to move, and we moved to St. Louis because my mom got back into drugs. And then while we were in St. Louis, I have a friend who gets shot. My best friend, I'm like three of the white people in school, and my best friend, my son's middle name is Dejan, named after this boy, because we used to race each other to the corner every day. If I beat you, I get your chocolate milk. If you beat me, you get your pizza. Same old thing when you was a kid. Luckily, it was Halloween that week, and it's lucky because I was running out the door, and my mom was like, "Give me your lunchbox," and I was like, "It's cool, it's got the lunch in it." And she's like, "No," and of course there's candy in it. But I believe that saved me, because I would have been at the corner at the same time that my friend got shot and killed. I remember coming downstairs, and some lady tried to stop me from going outside, and I remember saying, "Get away from me," like scared. And as I get to the end of the corner, there's a 6-foot privacy fence, and I can just hear this woman saying, "Please, please, let him breathe, let him breathe." And I come around the corner, and I see my friend with 3 bullet holes in his chest. And I remember running up to him, and I just remember him reaching out and grabbing for me. And that was my first friend that I ever lost, like someone that meant something to me. So like I had this, like, I don't want to make friends kind of attitude. And we moved back here because some things happened to my mom. Some pretty serious stuff. My mom, was raped by 5 black guys while I was held at gunpoint in the bathtub in our apartment. And I remember listening to my mom get raped. So I have trauma from that. I don't really talk about it much, but like I said, I need to be transparent, and I feel like I'm hoping this might help. I had to sit there and listen to my mom suffer. And I remember the guy telling me as they were leaving, they said, if you say anything, if I hear anything, we'll come back in, we'll kill you and your mom. So I sat there and I laid in that tub. I didn't hear my mom. I didn't hear anything. I remember, because my uncle would come and pick up my mom every morning for work. And I remember I heard the door, because we had a creaky door. I heard it open, and I was like, please, 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 God, please, please, please. And it was my uncle, and he comes in, and I hear him yelling my mom's name. And I'm still afraid that they're going to come back and kill my uncle now, you know what I mean? Like, I'm scared, you know what I mean? So, like, next thing I know, like, my uncle opens the door, and he sees me, and he picks me up, and he's like, what happened, what happened, what happened? And I don't know what to say. All I can say is some people came in, where's my mom? And he gets me outside, and as I go by, I see my mom. She's beaten, she's bloodied, her pants are off, there's blood everywhere. My mom's a diabetic. My mom was going into a diabetic attack at the time. So after this, my mom has to testify against these people. We keep getting death threats. People keep telling us that they're going to kill me. The same thing that happened to my friend. So the police paid for my mom and me to move back to Charleston. We came back. And I get back there, and of course my dad comes back around again, and my mom, she goes back. And I remember my neighbor friend used to go to church, and I used to be like, man, can I go with you? Can I please go with you? Just to get away from the violence at home. It's crazy how God will pull you toward him, and you don't even know it. And it's crazy because, like, after that happened to my mom, I was like, I prayed in the tub. I kept asking for you. Where were you? Where were you? And as a kid, you're like, you ask for something, you expect it. You know what I mean? You expect it to happen. And it wasn't until later I looked back on it and I realized, he was there. You know what I mean? My mom did survive. I survived. My prayers may have been the only thing that saved my mom's life. You know what I mean? Maybe it was God that pushed those men out of my house finally and got them out. But, I went to church one day with my friend, and, like, after service, they said they got food. So I was like, for real, there's food here? Oh, okay, I'll eat. You know what I mean? So that was my favorite place to go, boy, every Sunday. I was at church because they had food, and they started to realize it because they were like, well, you just can't wait till service is over, huh? And I'm like, nope, I'm first in line. What we got out here today? You know what I mean? And so, like, I used to go to church. I used to stay in church all the time just to get away from home, and because I seen family there. You know what I mean? I seen kids with their moms or their dads, and like I'd ask my mom, will you come to church? Mom, can you come to church with me? Can you go to church with me? And she's like, no, I can't. I got to go to work. I can't do it. I'm too busy, blah, blah, blah. Well, finally, one day I got my mom to come to church, and just so happened to be one of the deputies from Kanawha County was there, and he seen my mom's bruises, and he talked to my mom and convinced my mom that he would help her. There was some program that was helping battered women get into housing down there, so that way she could escape my dad. It was somewhere where her location would be disclosed and everything else. So my mom agreed to it and did it, and I remember one day I come home, and my mom's like, okay, today's the day. They found us a place. When your dad goes to sleep, we're sneaking out of here. And I was like, okay, well, he's found you every other time. I mean, I don't know. And I remember my mom was like, I'm really thankful you took me to that church. I think it was Deputy Crisper or something like that. And I remember we snuck out, and the deputy had met us up the block. I swear I thought my mom was dating the deputy or something. I don't know. I was like, something's not right here. Are we moving into his house? You know what I mean? But they took us to this place, this house, this little development out in Cross Lanes. And they, like, you know, the place is disclosed. They won't know about where we're at, whatever. It wasn't until 7 years later, my father found me because I never stayed at home. I was always somewhere. I was at this barber shop. I used to go clean up hair for $5, you know what I mean? They give me a little tip and stuff, so I clean up the hair for them. And I'd be at the gas station all the time. And I remember this woman. She goes, "Hey, I met a man today. He has the same name just like you, and he says he has a son around here." And I remember my eyes got big as can be, and I was like, "Oh man, my mom's gonna kill me." I remember I went back there like 3 days later. My dad was sitting out there, and he kept trying to beg me, "Just tell me where you live, where you live, tell me where you live." And I was like, I can't. "Well, your mom's lying, it's not all true, blah, blah, blah. I'm not like that." I'm like, "I've watched you, you know what I mean? I've seen you be there." And at the time, when me and Shay was just talking about this, like, I got 17 brothers and sisters, and I got 2 of them right now that are trying to fix their relationship with my dad, but my dad's like, "Hey, my old lady's in the car. You can just come with us." And I was like, "Huh?" I look in the car, this girl's about, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years older than me. And I'm like, "That's your old lady?" Like, so my dad's like, "It's weird, bro, it's weird." And I remember he tried to get me to get in the van. And the guy that owned the salon comes out and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm taking my son." And I remember I looked at him and I said, "Please don't. And he was like, No. Get back over here." And he was like, "Excuse me." He tried to get into a fight with the guy, and while he did, I ran. It was that same day, I met a guy who lived like 2 blocks from me, and like he was older, cool, you know what I mean? He was drinking and all that. And I remember we was just chilling, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to get high?" And I was like, "Sure, why not? I mean, what's getting high? I don't know what getting high is. What is it?" And he's like, "Well, I got some weed. I got some alcohol. Let's drink." And I was like, "Okay." So I remember my first time getting high, we were sitting in the field, and I was like, I kept falling over, and I was like, "I can't sit straight." And he was like, "Oh, it's because you're high." And I was like, "All right." And like that day became my first day of realizing there was a way to get away from my pain and a way out of what I was currently going through. So like every day I would get back with this guy and we'd get high and whatever. And I remember he got caught at school with some stuff, and he tried to tell him it was mine. And they didn't believe him because they caught him on camera or something like that. Caught him somehow, camera or someone told on him. But I remember I went back over to his house after he got out of because he had to go to court and all that. And he got expelled, and he was going through the court. And his parents were like, "Well, you can't be here." And I was upset about it because I was like, "Well, this is the only other place I know to go." So then my mom's with this other guy who has alcohol. And I was like, "Okay, well, I could drink his alcohol." So I was drinking all the time, and like every time he'd go to work, I'd sneak into his liquor cabinet, and I'd get wasted. And I remember my mom come home one day, boy, and I was gone. I remember she looked at me and she goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Nothing, I'm fine, I just don't feel good." I've been puking because I couldn't handle the alcohol. And you know, after that situation, my mom and her boyfriend moved up here to Parkersburg at 14 or 13. I moved here when I was 12, about to be 13. We lived here for almost a year, maybe a year and like 3 days. And I got into this altercation because I had a friend who was black and her boyfriend was racist. I mean, you can imagine why, you know what I mean? Like what happened to my mom, she got with a guy who was racist and like just banished every black guy. Like, I couldn't have any black friends. I couldn't be known at being at school being with black friends or anything. And that just wasn't me. You know, even after what happened to my mom, I never blamed them. I never blamed black people for what happened. And he expected me to. And I remember I told my friend, wait down here at the end of the street. We used to live right across from Mulberry Lane on Emerson. And I told him to wait here. And I was going to the house to get some clothes because we was going to go to the pool. And I remember I hear his truck turn the corner. Well, I knew I was hit because he revved up the truck, pulled in, got out, slammed the door, and the next thing I know, he's yelling at me. He's like, "God down there for you," and I was like, "It's my friend." Well, I ended up leaving for the rest of the day, come back, and I hear my mom after she got off work. I knew she got off at work at like 8 or 9, so I came back home and because I didn't want to have to sit there and listen to him. And I remember I go into my room, take off my shirt, and I hear my mom get smacked. So I run back in there and I try to shove him. He punches me and then goes to a cabinet, pulls out a gun and tells me he's going to kill me and that I don't need to be there. He was not my dad. He's not responsible for me. And he's going to be heck if he has to raise someone like me. Well, I ended up getting yanked up finally because my mom got him to calm down. I got yanked up, pulled out of the house, thrown out on the porch, and I ended up leaving because my mom was like, just leave for a little bit, and I took it personal. So I stayed out in the streets. I slept in abandoned houses for a while, and then it was getting cold, so I was like, man, I need some clothes. I don't got nothing to wear. So I went back home like 4 or 5 months later, and I remember when I got there, they had moved. There was nothing there. And, you know, I'm 14 years old. I have nothing now. Now I'm alone. I have nobody. And mind you, I don't have no grandparents, I don't have none of that. You know what I mean? The people I call family today are the people that I've known for years. And since I've been here, that have been there for me, stuck their neck out for me, helped me out, given me places to live. You know, the only real family I have are my sisters. And I just now started to connect with them just a few years ago. But after that happened, man, my drug habit was horrible. I was doing cocaine, I was doing pills, I was drinking, I was smoking. You put it in front of me, I would probably do it. And I mean, I'm 14 years old, and that's what I was doing. Well, that lasted all the way up until I was 21 years old. Then I got into some trouble, did some really awful things, and ended up going to prison for 2.5 years. Served my 2.5 years, came out, wanted to do something good for the community, so I started a program working with kids. That was a hard thing to even get started because of my past, what had happened while I got locked up, because it was a violent charge, and it involved a gun, shooting at someone, taking a person hostage in a home, unlawful attempted hostage taking of a law enforcement officer, and I did my time. I come home, and I was like, man, while I was in prison, I seen kids coming in there from the street, 18 years old, been in trouble, listen to their stories, and I was like, you know what, if there was a better alternative to just locking kids up, maybe there would be a better chance that we can keep them out of jail. So I started a program called Save a Future for At-Risk Teens and Troubled Youth. And I wrote a letter to the state police, the city police, the state troopers, and I asked them for their blessing, and to understand, I had it all. We worked it all out, and we had it all on paper, and it was a great program. And then Darren Tallman asked me to come down and work with him. down at juvenile drug court. And then I was taking the juveniles from there, doing one-on-one mentorship. I was doing community service programs for them to help them get off of the drug court because they had nobody doing their community service. And in that time, everything was going great, and then I started helping people get into rehabs, and then it was all doing great, all well and good, and then bam, I keep passing out. I'm having issues. I come to find out I had Crohn's disease. I had to have some surgeries done, and then I was associate administrative director over the Latrobe Street Mission for 4 years. It was great. I loved it. I worked with great people, and I loved the fact of being able to help somebody. That's my biggest thing. I love helping people. I remember one day I'm in the back, and there's no one there to bail clothes, and so next thing I know, I'm stuck in the back bailing clothes, and I remember I pulled this bag up out of one of the totes, and I passed out. And I passed out, the director's wife comes in, and she's hollering at me, "Wake up, hey, come on, wake up." And I'm trying to say something to her, but I can't. And finally, about 5-10 minutes later, I probably come to be able to say something. And I was like, I hear you. And she was like, "Honey, you've been out for a while. We need to get you to the hospital. There's an ambulance on its way." And I was like, oh, great. Well, we get down there, and I was just there like a day or two before, and same ER doctor was on, and he comes in, and he's like, "I just seen you. I just told you everything." Well, Miss Sandy, Steve's wife, was like, "Something's not right. It can't be this. Y'all need to try to look and see if there's anything else wrong." So they ran some more tests. Never seen that ER doctor again. Next thing comes in is an Indian doctor who goes, "Sir, you need emergency heart surgery." So I'm thinking, oh, okay, whatever, go through my arteries, whatever. No, we're going to have to replace your whole valve because you have a buildup of calcium on it. And if we don't do it now, you're going to end up dead, because the reason you keep passing out is because you're not getting sufficient blood to your main organs. And I was scared to death of it. Well, the same week I was supposed to have the surgery, I'm like, this is emergency surgery, why is it happening? And Sandy, she's like, it's God. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't understand that. And she was like, it's in God's timing. Well, she was right. The doctor that I had was Dr. Cruzavella. He was a doctor. He came here from Cleveland Clinic, which I thought was awesome, because I was like, yeah, I want that guy. You know what I mean? I want that guy. Well, he had got pulled over and got obstruction of an officer, had 3 prescriptions that were not in his name, and he got caught a DUI. So I didn't know this at the time, and what's funny is that Hunter Shepard, Bob Shepard's wife, I had just got Hunter into rehab, and which I think it was actually Dream Life when Tim was there. So it was kind of funny, though, because I'm on Facebook, if you know me, I like to rant. So I'm getting on Facebook, and next thing you know, I'm typing up, "Oh man, come on, this is crazy. I can't believe they haven't had my surgery yet. Like, something's wrong. This is absurd. It's emergency surgery." Well, Jenny gets on there, and she private messages me and tells me, "You need to find another doctor. This is what happened." And I was like, y'all were going to give me the doctor with the shakes? Like, what in the world? You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. So I go to Miami, Florida, and while I'm in Miami, Florida, I was doing great, man. I was sober. I was happy. And because when I came out of prison, I didn't do any drugs. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I should have went back there to that. But it was crazy because I went to Miami, Florida, and we're down there, and it was a great time. And I kept saying, well, hey, if the plane goes down, I don't have to worry about open heart surgery. That was my convincing, hey, listen, this. And so I make it back, and I end up, luckily, I went to Marietta this time. And they were like, where do you want to go? I was like, Cleveland Clinic. And they were like, nah, that don't happen like that. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, well, you just don't get in there like that. And like, my first time I really like prayed to God, like honestly, like I was like sitting there going, God, please let me call this place and they take me. And so at the time, my ex-wife, like we're in there and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going out here, I'm calling them myself. And like, and so I go out there and I call them and they're like, are you leaving? I'm like, no, I'll be back. You know what I mean? So I'm calling, I got to call 3 times because nobody speaks English. And finally I get someone that speaks some broken English that I could barely understand, but hey, we were making progress. And I remember they were like, well, what hospital? Where at? What? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah, Marietta, Ohio. And they're like, we don't know no Marietta. And I'm like, oh, great. So I was like, I asked the doctor, I said, what's your number? And he was like, why? And I was like, because I need him to call you. And so he ends up coming back like an hour later, and he's like, how do you want to go? And I was like, is this a death question? Like, how do I want to go? Like, and like, he's like, well, do you want to go by ambulance or do you want to take yourself? And I was like, that's a trick question because I know that if I go by myself, I'm not making it there. I know me, I'm not going to make it there. So I was like, can I please take an ambulance? He's like, yeah. So take the ambulance. I get up there, and everything goes great. It's amazing up there. The people are incredible, like incredible. And I remember I come back, and I got this prescription of 180 Oxy 80s. Yeah. And I was like, oh, man, I've been sober for how long? I don't know. But my chest was like, well, you taking them things. Like, you going to take them. So, like, at first, I'm taking the first script like I'm supposed to. But then I don't realize this because I haven't been on opiates. The sickness from it was starting to get me. Like, I would not take them for a little bit, and I'd be like, we'd be somewhere out to eat, and I'd be like, man, I got to get home. I need some pills. I need some, you know what I mean? So I remember I come home, and then it started into snorting them, of course. And then I learned you can burn them on foil. And it was like, man. Well, then, after they yanked my prescription, my ex-wife comes home with 3 little pills in a bag. Unbeknownst to me, they look like Oxy 80s. They are pure fentanyl. That was my first time with fentanyl. Well, I remember I did it, and it was crazy because as soon as I did it, I was like, something's not right because I snorted it, and I remember I collapsed in the bathtub. My stepkids are wigging out. They're like, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And that really upsets me that they see that, My sister's there, my foster sister. I call her my foster sister. She's just one of the ladies I've known, the girls that have been in my life ever since I was home. She's trying to give me CPR. They get me outside to the truck, and the police show up, and they don't want to pull out the Narcan to Narcan me. They think I'm just some junkie that's getting high. You know what I mean? I've been doing fentanyl forever. They just want to let me die. Luckily, the paramedics showed up, and they were like, get Narcan. I guess they hit me with the Narcan I came to, and I was upset because I know that there's a God. Okay, let me tell you why I know there's a God. When I OD'd, I don't know what I seen. I don't know what it was. I've had this huge fear of death my whole life. But when I OD'd that day, something comforted me, and it's crazy. It is the craziest thing I got goosebumps right now. That's how bad it is. It is the craziest thing I have ever experienced. And, I've been going to church. I was doing all that, but man, that was like a clarification. There is a God. Because I was mad when they brought me back. And I wasn't mad because I wasn't high. I wasn't mad because there were people outside staring at me. I was mad because it was the most beautiful feeling of ease and comfort at the time. Like, I cannot describe it. There was no fear in me at all. And I remember they were like, well, we're going to take you to the ER. We need to get you. And then I get to the ER, and next thing you know, this nurse comes in. She's like, have you ever thought about rehab? And I'm like, lady, I'm not an addict. What do you mean? I'm good. I get people into rehab. What do you mean? I ain't an addict. And she's like, honey. And I was like, what? She's like, you've been doing fentanyl. And I was like, what? I haven't been doing fentanyl. What? Like, bro, I got a prescription for Oxy 80s. What do you mean? Because I'm still thinking that these were Oxy 80s that I had done. And she's like, honey, the pills that your wife had given us, those were pure fentanyl. And it hit me. I was like, oh, what? Like, because here I am. I've been doing this thing, helping people get in recovery, and I'm like, oh, man, just get over the sickness. Just get over the sickness, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, now I feel like, oh, man, now it looks really bad. And I remember the police officer and two people from I think maybe Westbrook or somewhere, came to our house one day and with a CPS worker. And I remember the look on my ex-wife's face. Like, she was cussing them out. She was like, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, there was an overdose here, so we need to come and speak to the children, and he needs to either go to rehab or we're going to take the kids. And I remember I was like, well, I'll just leave. I just got my stuff and I walked out, and they were like, it don't work like that. I refused to go to rehab. 3 weeks later, I go back to get my stuff. I have a good friend of mine that's with me, and I leave my wife for drugs at the time because I wanted to get high. Because I ain't gonna lie, I liked the feeling that I had at that time. You know what I mean? That was a great feeling rather than the dying part, but I think I wanted to die. Part of me wanted to die. You know, I have 2 kids who I haven't been able to be in their lives, and here I am in this girl's kids' lives, and it was killing me. So I was battling with that. I quit going to church. I was going to church with Austin, seeing Austin all the time. I loved the church, but the church was also where I used to get visitations with my kids. And their mom quit bringing them because she's a brat. And I remember I was so upset one day. I was like, man, I ain't never going back to church. I can't go there because I can't stand seeing everybody with their kids. And so I just made up this whole big excuse, you know what I mean, to go out and keep getting high, keep doing dope, keep finding stronger and stronger, and be on that search. And then, you know, in that mess, I met Shayla. You know, Shayla's incredible, man. She's an amazing girl. You know, Shayla, when I first met Shayla, she was not letting me get away, boy. I remember I walked in, I said, hey, who are you? I ain't never seen you before, and that started the whole thing. And I remember we were together for maybe 8, 9 months, and she kept going, I can't get pregnant. I can't get pregnant. Guess what? You know, we're out there in the mess, and here we come to find out, like, 6 months in, you know, like, we find out Shayla is 6 months pregnant into this. And at the time, I'm thinking we're going to Canham Clark, and I'm about to see a 2-month-old baby or something. You know what I mean? Like 2 weeks, something like that. No, we get there, and the lady puts the little ultrasound stuff on there, and this baby pops up, and I go, "What kind of babies do you be birthing?" And the lady loses it. She goes, "What?" And I was like, that is not no 2-week-old baby. And she goes, well, no, hon. She does some measurements, and she goes, she's probably 6 months. At that time, bro, that hit me so hard because now I know that we've been using this whole time and she's been pregnant. She took it extremely hard. She really did. Like, she took it very hard. I was mad because I kept saying, you didn't tell me because you wanted to keep getting high. And today, I feel guilty for doing that because I should have been like, you should have known because this girl ain't had a period in how long? Like, you are older. You should know better. You know what I'm saying? Like, and and so, like, we decided, we were like, okay, we'll start going to rehab. We're start going to the Parkersburg Treatment Center. We had a friend, well, I thought was a friend, staying with us at our apartment. Next thing you know, one morning, I'm sitting there on the toilet, and Shayla goes, baby, there's cops outside. And I'm like, what? And she goes, there's police outside. And I'm thinking, oh, she's over-exaggerating. If you know Shayla, that happens a lot. I get up off the toilet, and we have a security camera. I look at it, and I'm like, oh. And I start hearing boom, 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 boom on the door. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, something like that. And I hear Parkersburg Narcotics Task Force, we have a warrant. And I'm like, man, I'm coming, man. Y'all got the wrong house, man. Y'all got the wrong house. And Shayla's like, oh my gosh, she's freaking out. And I was like, what? And I remember I turned around. Next thing I know, the door flings open, the trim goes by my face, and I got a gun on me. And I remember they pulled us out of the house. They almost shot my dog. I had to jump in front of my dog. And I was like, listen, I will lose it. Like, y'all gonna kill two things today if y'all shoot my dog. And if y'all know, I got a black dog. Her name's Mally, and she's my best friend. And she is my service dog. She's a German Shepherd. My doctor's office paid for her for my PTSD. But anyways, so they pull us out of the house. And as we're coming down the steps, the guy, the Sanchez looks at the guy and goes, so where are the drugs and who are they? It's like, I don't know, they ain't my drugs. And Shayla goes, just looks over at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to say right now. So anyways, so long story short, this guy ends up telling the police, well, first of all, they thought Shayla had it on her. And then Shayla was like, I'm pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, great, you know. So they were like, well, if you guys go to treatment, we're not worried about you, we're worried about him. That's why we're here. Your name's only on the warrant because it's your apartment. So me and Shayla, we go to treatment. 2-3 weeks later, we're walking down Lynn Street, and cop pulls up, says, what's my name? I'm like, oh, I ain't do nothing wrong, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. And finally, I was telling my name, so I got a warrant for your arrest. They take me to jail, come back out, and in the court, when I go to court, I find out that the guy stashed a half ounce of fentanyl in my attic. And because it's in my attic, his lawyer's defense is that it is me and Shayla's. So, and I have a violent past, so they're trying to inflate all my charges. I'm looking at a lot of time for that. But we're trying to do everything that we're supposed to be doing right, and now this happens. I'm like, the devil is trying to take me out, you know what I mean? Like, I'm never gonna get my chance to be a dad, you know what I mean? That's my number one thing, bro. I'm so excited to have Zavante. Like, I'm so excited. I've never wanted something more in my life than to build a relationship with God and to be a godly father and be a godly man to my home and do what is right. I've never wanted anything more, bro. It's my new addiction, honestly. Like, I want that for my life. I want that for my family. I want my son to know what true love is, what true parents are supposed to be. Shayla A few months later, Shayla ends up giving birth at the house. Here we go, part 2. So Shayla's walking around going, oh. I'm like, Shay, don't you think we should call the paramedics? No, we're good. I'm like, Shayla, for real, I think we should call. And she's like, no, I'm good. Okay, call someone. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, for real? And she's like, this baby's coming. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're in the house, and it's like, almost midnight. And I'm like, I got to call 911. So I call them. I'm thinking, because the water broke on my dog's dog bed. And my dog's like, really? Like, it was funny. It was so funny because the dog looked right up at her like, on my bed? What in the world? And I remember Shay's like, this baby's coming right now. And like, I'm on the phone. Yeah, my girl's about to give birth to the baby right now, she says. Right now? Like, what do I do? And she goes, roll her on her side. And I'm like, Shayla, roll on your side. she goes, I can't. I was like, here. So I shove her over, and it was so crazy because, like, she's like, he's coming right now. I'm like, he's coming right now. Please get someone here. And I remember she's like, he's coming. And her legs come back open. And I go, and I see the head. And I'm like, no, not right now. Not right now. And I hear the ambulance. I hear the fire truck coming. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Not thinking that there's going to be 5 hot firefighters coming inside to take care of this birthing situation. You know what I'm saying? So Shayla she does it like a champ, bro. I mean, nothing. That baby came out like it was rubbed with Crisco or something. And it was horrible all at the same time because when my son comes out, he's not breathing. My son is purple. I was mad because Shayla, I'm sorry, Shayla, but Shayla's crying. She's begging me not to take the baby. Don't take the baby. Please don't take him from me. Please don't do this to me. Please don't take him from me. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do. And that's when it hits me. Man, she's going to test positive. So I leave Shayla, and I go out to the ambulance with my son, and I'm like, come on, we got to go, we got to get my son. And he's like, we got to get her in the car because we don't have another ambulance to come get her. So they get her into the car, and I'm not talking to her at all. I'm so upset at the time. We get down there, and they're trying to get my son to breathe. They're trying to get him to breathe. And I'm like, please, God, please, I'm so sorry. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll dedicate my life to you. I don't care what it's going to take. Please just let my son breathe, bro. And they're like, we got to air flight him to Charleston. Immediately, the helicopter is on its way. We've got to get him there. So I'm still not in the room with Shayla. I still feel bad about that today because I felt like I shouldn't have been mad at her. I should have been more mad at myself. And I know that I should have been more mad at myself. We were both on Suboxone. We didn't have Suboxone for a while, and Shayla didn't have any. And I didn't believe her at first. I just thought she got high, whatever. But there was people messaging her, telling her, hey, if you don't get something, this baby's going to die. You're going to end up killing this baby because you haven't had anything. You haven't had no Suboxone. You haven't had no dope. The baby will die from the withdrawals. So I'm on Google looking it up. Can't happen. So I had to start to go, okay, well, I have to understand why she did it. She was scared. She was messaging people. She kept telling them, JoJo will kill me. JoJo will kill me. And I didn't believe it until she got to Angels Harbor, and I got on her Facebook and checked her Facebook. So, I know it's hard for her to feel like I know she has to take on that thought that I did this, and she did it because she was scared for the baby. You know what I mean? Like, she couldn't go to the hospital and just like, yeah, I need some Suboxone. I don't think that works. I don't know how that works, but I don't think that works. When she happened to give birth to our son is our angel today. He is our Savior. I mean, God gave us this beautiful little man who has the biggest head, like his mom, and he has changed me and her life, like, so much. Like, I get to see Shayla. If I cuss at home, she'll be like, it's funny, okay? This girl, I'm sorry, I'm going to embarrass you for a minute, Shayla. This girl will go out on my porch and go, "We love you, Jesus!" And I'm like, "Shayla, the neighbors are going to think we're crazy." All I know is that, from what I've grown through, from what I've came from, it was never God that was hiding from me. You know what I'm saying? I finally realized that, and that's something that's amazing. What's incredible is God's forgiveness is like, God's forgiveness and mercy, understanding, His grace, His love. Man, let me tell y'all something, bro. I love every one of y'all, okay? There ain't nothing in the world that can change that. You can backslide a million times, and you know what? I feel like it's in my heart to be just like Jesus. What I love the most about Jesus today is, I've been in the Bible a lot more, and I love watching clips, on YouTube and TikTok and the Reels on Facebook. God can change anybody, and God can give you a life that you'll never even know of. You just got to be able to accept it. I heard a thing the other day that said, the weirdest people, the people you think are the craziest, are actually the smartest. And I used to think the Christian people were the weirdest. You know what I mean? I'd be like, y'all praying to somebody y'all can't even see. I can pray to Casper too. You know what I'm saying? But it's about faith, and now I know about faith. Faith is believing in that there is somebody there. And like I said, I had that when that situation happened to me and I overdosed. I know what was there after that overdose. It has to be God, bro, because I'm telling you right now, the day that I take my last breath, I pray to God that same comfort that I got then will be the same comfort I get in that moment. God blessed us with a beautiful son who is 4 months old. He's blessed me with a support team that I will never be able to pay off. I will never be able to pay off all the gas money that Austin has spent just to come get me. I will never be able to give him anything else other than my eternal love for the rest of my life and my loyalty as a friend, a brother, as a Christian man. I will always be there for him. This church has been amazing. This church is Angels Harbor, Tim. Bro, I've known Tim since before Tim was Dream Life, when he just first came up here in Eddie James. I love Tim. I love him to death. I'm so proud to see his growth. And I look at him and I go, if that man can do it, I know I can. You know what I'm saying? I know I can get there. And, I don't know the day I'll die. I got this mechanical heart valve in, and my doctor, Austin's been on me about it. I need to get to a cardiologist. I guess I had a mild heart attack sometime. I don't know. My EKGs showed irregularity, whatever you say. And there's some issues there. So I got to get to this thing. And Shayla's been stressing me out about it, and I'm just scared. Last EKG, last heart doctor I went to, I ended up heart surgery. It is. But I'm going to believe in God, and I set that appointment. Guys, I love you all, and I appreciate you hearing my testimony tonight. Because I hope it helped you, but I just hope you know that it helped me 10 times more. Being able to free myself of my thoughts and things that are going on, things that I'm upset with myself about, things that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying to somebody else. I wouldn't be comfortable going to another church and telling them that story. But I have faith in you guys, and I love you all, and I know I get to hear your guys' stories. You guys give me hope, and I appreciate you for that. Angels Harbor, I appreciate all you girls for loving on Shayla, for being there for her, especially you, because she loves you to death. Erica, all these girls in here that poured into her at the church, I love y'all. Thank you. Y'all gave my son a mom. She's a heck of a mom today. I'm so very proud of her. The placenta thing, I was told to say something about the placenta thing. No, the placenta was not left at home. I actually even said to the firefighter, what about the thing that comes out? And he was like, the placenta? And I was like, yeah, that's not going to be here when I get back, bro. I got all kinds of blood in the floor I got to clean up already. And he was like, no, they'll get that. I never told her about that. So sorry, it didn't get left at the house. Because I was asking them that in the ambulance. I was like, what about the thing that comes out? You know what I mean? Like, that's not, my dog's in there. I don't want it to eat it. You know what I'm saying? So sorry that the placenta didn't get to stay at home. Yeah, there's no secrets with you. Shayla, I want to say thank you for doing everything that you've done. You know, you didn't want to go to Angels Harbor at first, and you did. You know, you still continue to amaze me day by day. You go here in IOP now, and I'm definitely proud of you for that. She's going to therapy, and I pray to God that you will continue on this path, and that we grow as a kingdom family, and we become closer to God. And not only in that, though, that we bring our son closer to God, because that's our miracle, and I want to see him make it. Guys, my 3-hour speech is done, I guess.
Man, give it up for Joe. Hey, stand up here a second. And Shayla, too. Man, give it up for these guys right here. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of these two. Like, literally, I've been in recovery for 8.5 years, and I've worked with a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people, man. This guy right here has been one of the hardest working, most determined, he literally has done more than anybody I've ever seen do, and just continues to push and push and push and never give up and always shows up. Dude, he is a testimony of what hard work and recovery can do, and what love, when you love your son, love your dog, what that can do. And you guys are going to be a testimony that God restores families, and he's going to break generational curses in your family, and your son is going to grow up knowing Jesus for the rest of his life. I love you guys.
Wait, don't go yet. I want you guys to come down here, and I want everybody else to come. You guys get down here. I'm gonna snap at you. He was just very open and vulnerable about things he's struggling with. I'm sure Shayla wants, I want everybody to come surround them in prayer for just their relationship, their son, and for whatever this doctor's appointment's coming up, whatever he is facing, whatever is going on in his heart, we know that we serve a God that's bigger, and we know we serve a God of healing, and he's going to heal him so he can be the father that he wants to be, the godly father that he wants to be, he will be for his son. And we're just going to pray over their marriage. We're going to just declare his goodness over their life and his faithfulness over his life for their generations to generations to generations to come. So everybody just bombard them with prayer right now. God, we just lift this beautiful couple, Lord, up to you, God. We lift their son up to you, God. We give you them, Lord, and they are all in for you, God. And we just pray, Lord, as they continue to be all in for you, Lord, and they continue to be at the feet of your cross, Lord, that you just heal them, heal the broken parts of them that are still healing, heal the shame, Lord. I just heal them from the inside out, Lord, so they can walk in the wholeness that you want them to walk in, Lord. I know I never even knew half of the story, but after hearing it, Lord, I know you have a huge, huge calling and purpose over their life, over this man's life. He is going to be a mighty man of God used in some mighty ways, Lord. So we just pray against any sickness, any heart issues, Lord. Even if he did have a mild heart attack, God, we just pray for this doctor's appointment for you to just drastically change the results, Lord. We pray for complete healing in there, even though it's mechanical, Lord. We know that you are the one operating his heart, Lord. You are the one operating in this couple, God, and we just lift them, Lord, to you. We give them to you, God, and we just pray over their son. We pray that that son will be rose to be a mighty warrior in your kingdom, Lord, that this couple will be a mighty couple, Lord, in your kingdom, for your kingdom, serving side by side together, Lord, raising up this beautiful child of theirs. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. I want to encourage you guys. We're going to do an altar call. And I just want to encourage you after hearing that vulnerability, if you got to lay something down today, if you need prayer for anything, or if you just want to fall, you are invited up. Living
Heavenly Father, thank you for such an amazing night. I just ask you continue to be with us as we leave tonight. Be with Joey and Shayla. Continue to bless them. Bless all these ladies at Angels Harbor. Continue to inspire us and cover us with your all-consuming fire. In Jesus' name.